Guys, we are back. Spin Zone episode 2. Mike Carmelini, joined as always by my good friend and colleague, Mr. Colin Cronin. How are you, Colin?
I am very well, Mike. It's good to be back with you. And I think we have an interesting show ahead. We talked a little bit about the circus being in town last week.
Yeah.
And I think the man with the biggest circus tent, they say everything's bigger in Texas, and he certainly has the biggest circus tent in the NFL, Mr. Jerry Jones. We're going to be digging into him a little bit on this episode.
Yeah, maybe even more than a little bit. And Rickey the dog. Stay tuned. Oh, where is my screen? That's right there. It is Spin Zone time. The season is starting this week, and we're done with all the preseason. We're done with all the free agency, but we are not done with the spin, guys. It has been an interesting week all across the NFL, specifically one of our favorite subjects, Jerry Jones and the Dallas Cowboys. Call him, it's like free food at a buffet with Jerry Jones. He's just going to always provide.
He is. You can go up for not just seconds, Mike. You can have third, fourth, and fifth helpings when it comes to Jerry.
You can. Of course, for those of you that were on the other side of the moon or trapped in a jail cell or lost in the desert, we are talking about the Micah Parsons trade. And let's just do a real quick rundown of that timeline. So, of course, Micah Parsons, arguably the best player on the Dallas Cowboys, has been traded to the Packers. And so we skip over a little bit of this, but the July they reported to camp. So on August 1st, apparently, Parsons camp requested a trade, maybe through his agent, or it could even have been just a Twitter post. I don't exactly remember. Jerry said it's just part of the negotiations. August 7th, Parsons has tightness in his back. Turns out there might be a little more to that. And, we go on through summer. Jones offers Parsons the richest contract in the history of the world. Cowboys coach Brian Schottenheimer on the 22nd expects Parsons to play week 1. And 6 days later, Parsons, of course, is a Green Bay Packer. We'll get into some people that actually knew that was happening, possibly before the Cowboys knew that was happening. Crazy stuff out there. What are your initial reactions to that timeline? It all kind of happened within a month, and things happened fast. But I think there might have been a lot more going on behind the scenes than what Adam Schefter's putting out here, right, Colin?
Oh, I think so, Mike. I think that is a nice, neat public timeline. Yeah. I think we will see later on in the show that there were murmurings about contract talks breaking down all the way back in the spring.
Yeah.
And that's the point where they'd broken down. So they'd already been happening throughout last season. This has been interesting to see it play out in this way. Players of Parsons' ability, of caliber, not carrying a serious injury. It doesn't tend to happen. Teams tend to want them to stick around, but there is this. It speaks to, and we're going to get into this. But I've been saying for a while that Jerry Jones is more interested in headlines than he is in winning, and he's more interested in the sound of his own voice than he is in the scoreboard. And kudos to Kevin Clark. We're going to call out the media when needs be. We're also going to give them their laurels when they deserve it. And Kevin Clark certainly deserves his, because he rightly made the point a few weeks ago now that if Jerry was given the opportunity, if the football gods came down and they said, Jerry, you can run it back. It can be the 90s again. It can be the glory days, and you can win 3 Superbacks, one after another. But there's one catch, Jerry. You're not going to be able to do any press conferences.
Yeah, no way.
No way. And Kevin Clark rightly made that point. We all know that would be the case. And that is a real problem. And it's a wider problem, that I think we'll delve into in future episodes. And we touched on it last week. Not every owner in the NFL is truly interested in winning. And I think we have maybe the perfect example of that in Jerry Jones.
I agree. He does talk about the Dallas Cowboys, and I think it came out that they are the Dallas Cowboys the most valuable sports franchise in the NFL?
Oh, by a considerable distance. They are the most valuable sports franchise on the planet.
They were like over 10 billion, weren't they, or something like that?
I think we're approaching around about 16 billion at this point in time. And Jerry loves that talking point, that we're the most valuable franchise on the planet. Yeah, but what's in your trophy cabinet, Jerry?
Well, it's been a while. All right. So last week we did Call Your Shot. There's a couple here. Certainly one. This is my favorite. We'll switch gears here a little bit. Now, I'm assuming everyone knows who Michael Irvin is. This is Michael guaranteeing Micah Parsons is not going anywhere. Putting it out there for the world to see, calling his shot, and notice the added context down from the readers. What do they call this? The community notes or whatever. Micah Parsons was traded to the Green Bay Packers less than 1 hour after Irvin said this. I mean, again, I love watching people give their opinions. I love watching analysis. However, when you say things like "I guarantee" or "That's never going to happen," you're just begging to come on the Spin Zone where I'm gonna bag on you. I'm gonna give you the MC Hammer. So, Michael, I'm sorry that you said that. Bad on you. Skip Bayless is back again. For those of you listening, why would Jerry Jones even think about trading Micah Parsons when he has him under contract for one more season? And he could then franchise him for 2 more. Jerry has Micah. This is all in caps now. Jerry has Micah for 3 more seasons if he chooses. Well, confidently spoken again by Skip Bayless. It's kind of, again, how it started and, how it finished. One more from Skip on the same side. We don't have to read the whole thing, but he's surprised that Jerry and Micah didn't announce a big deal today. This is on the 26th, guys. If you remember your timeline, this is 2 days away from the Packers obtaining Micah Parsons. So, Skip goes on, says he can play him, make him prove he's worth the most money ever paid a different player. Not Jerry. Colin, obviously Skip knows, right? He knows what's going to happen. He's calling his shot as well. He never misses. Now, he didn't know what was going to happen. So you can't really file this one under just saying stuff to, stick to the wall to gain attention. He's just plain wrong in this case.
He is. And I think a lot of the traditional thinking would be that this was Jerry going to, get the headlines before the season started, particularly with the Cowboys playing the Eagles. This year having to go into Philly and watch them raise the banner, and what that was going to be like. So why not grab the off-season headlines if you can't grab the on-field headlines? And we know, look, but Skip plays a character, Mike, and we talked about Nick Wright last week, and we touched on Skip, but Skip plays the ardent Cowboy fan who is consistently surprised after 30 years that he's let down once again. On the show Seinfeld, their most important rule for that show was a rule Larry David came up with, and it was no learning. He insisted that the characters never learned, no matter what befell them, no matter what situation they found themselves in, they would never learn from it. That is Skip Bayless. But just like the people on Seinfeld, he too is playing a character.
That's amazing. Okay. Hang on. Let's move this out here a little bit. All right, so this is the 28th. Now, Skip is switching gears here. The trade has happened. He makes a video in his car, but the headline, "Good riddance and good luck, Green Bay, because you've just overpaid for the overhyped Micah Parsons." That's what we call coping. Now Skip is saying that the Cowboys are better on defense, and like their chances even better a week from tonight. Now, let's switch to a football analysis here. I'm just curious, Colin, would you say the Cowboys got better on defense after trading Micah Parsons to the Packers? Would you say that that's a true statement?
I don't think anyone could honestly say that the Cowboys got better, but I did like what you said about Skip switching gears, because I think it's good that you have automatic cars in America, because if you tried changing gears the way Skip just changed gears, you would ruin your clutch in a car over here. It would be non-existent, because he went into reverse so hard and so fast. It was quite stunning. We have, and this is we see this time and again. You understand it from fans, but a supposed media analyst, and it gets tiresome, and nobody believes that. And I think that's the part that really sticks in your craw is, the Cowboys did not get better. You can try and play that off, but that is utterly ridiculous. That's like telling me that the Patriots got better when Tom Brady left the building, or the Colts got better when they let Peyton Manning go. Absolute nonsense. Nobody believes it. It's complete cope. And I hope people are beginning to wise up to the way in which this plays out.
Yeah, I think this one we can file under. He's doing his thing here. He doesn't even believe that. And maybe some of it's cope, and maybe some of it is just playing his attention game. He's good at it. We'll give it to him. We need our Dove Kleiman Clown of the Week. I have a nominee for you. And it is, I guess, just as related to the Micah Parsons trade as the rest of this show is about to be. But we're going to get into something very different here in a minute, so hang with us. Jack Eckberg, uncovered NFL, calling his shot. There is no trader. This is 2 days before the trade, by the way. There is no trade offer on the table for Micah Parsons. That is objectively false. There are no talks happening between Green Bay and Dallas. That is also very false. Everything you're seeing is bullshit. Just desperate people grasping at straws for their chance at going viral and getting that dopamine hit that comes with it. That is Jake's first tweet along these lines.
It would prove prophetic, but not in the way Jake intended.
I know. Okay. Here's the next one From Jake Eckbert again. Now, this is the 28th. Now, if you remember from our timeline, this is the day of the trade. There are only 5 teams with enough salary cap space right now, 24 million, to pull off a Micah Parsons trade. Patriots, Lions, Raiders, 49ers, Seahawks. Only 2 AFC teams. Now, the reason he says that in his next tweet, regarding the Micah Parsons situation, multiple teams have inquired about availability, all of which are from the AFC. Cowboys are now picking up the phone and entertaining offers. Jerry won't entertain a trade that keeps Micah in the NFC. Well, every one of those was about as wrong as they get. There was nothing truthful in any of those. And of course, and I'm not an expert, but I'm fairly certain that the Green Bay Packers play in the NFC and not the AFC. So that's we're gonna call Jake Eckbert our Dove Kleiman Clown of the Week. Are you comfortable with that? Call him Cronin.
I mean, I think what I would say is there are a couple of different things. It's the fact that he goes in so deep. I understand fans, right, not wanting to believe something, hoping something isn't true. But when you start putting in per source, which has become, a pretty toxic phrase, which is a shame. And, because sources are really important in sourcing stories, but it has become almost comical the way it's used now. And it kind of highlights as well the way in which people utilize the cap and try to wield it in certain ways when they say this can happen or this can't happen due to the cap. The cap isn't real. Teams can move it around. They make things happen. They look down the back of the couch and suddenly they find an additional 45 million to hand. That's the way it works. And good teams can push the cap out. And so pretending that, you know exactly what is going to happen, utterly ridiculous. And we know that things were very much in train in the background on all of this. But I think he's got to share it, because to me, the true clown is the circus master, is the one and only Jared Jones himself, because he, every year, the Cowboys year, all in, and 30 years of failure, not 1 year, not 2 years, but 30 years of it at this point, Mike. And, fool me once. What am I fooling me 34 times in a row? At which point, who is the fool? So I say that despite the best efforts of young Luke, I think that Jerry deserves the Dov Kleiman Clown of the Week title.
Yeah, well done. I think the line that comes to mind is, who's the bigger fool, the fool or the fool who follows him? I think that's from Star Wars, actually. So I'll take that.
Nice.
Now, Jerry did come out with a few things after the trade. He did say, in our judgment, this gives us a better chance to be a better team than we've been the last several years. This is in response to, I guess, other people's takes on what had happened. And then he found this interesting and sent this to me. I found it very
interesting. Micah Parsons committed to a contract extension with Jerry Jones on a handshake. Yeah, but I would go to Groucho Marx. What is it they say about a verbal contract? Oh, it's not worth the paper it's written on. 2, Jerry himself has traded players in the past who weren't seeking to be traded, who thought they had deals in place. And when it suited Jerry, all of a sudden, well, a handshake wasn't binding. And if Jerry can't trust you, you're done. That's an interesting one. Let's revisit that one, Mike. Maybe week 10. Let's see how George Pickens is getting on down there in Jerry's world.
Yeah, that's a great point. We did get a statement from, and we don't need to go over the whole thing, but this is Micah Parsons' agent. He said that Micah wanted to be a Cowboy. He wanted to stay, did everything we could to remain one. We try to keep negotiations out of the media, but in this case, so much information has been put out. Felt like he needed to say a few things. So just to kind of sum it up, let me read this last part. If you look at many of these contracts that the Cowboys have done over the last few years and the recent ones, the guarantees don't stretch much further than the first new year. If you look at Micah's current deal, he has guarantees into 4 years from now. So the details are of contracts are fascinating. And whenever you hear someone signed a 4-year, $188 million contract, you have to wait a little bit to see what it really is. Like, what's the guaranteed money? When can the team get out of this deal? A lot of times that 4-year, $188 million contract is like a $2 million or 2-year, $65,000 or $1 million contract. They don't tend to be what they list. The only one that I know of, tragically, is Deshaun Watson's $250 million contract, whatever it was. It was fully guaranteed. The NFL, there was a lot of talk when that happened, Colin, that after that happened, that fully guaranteed contracts were going to become the norm, and it has not turned out that way yet. The NFL is very powerful. They have shown over the years that they're more than willing to just collude and get together and say, "Hey guys, we're not going to do this," and then it just doesn't happen. So
and on just on that piece, I think the interesting, it's always interesting to see different sides, right? And what's important there is the agent it's his job to represent Micah Parsons, and it's his job to counter the spin coming out of the Cowboys with perhaps his own spin. And I would urge viewers, listeners, whoever you are, and we're obviously an NFL show. We're going to talk about the NFL, but I would say professional sports writ large. Whatever someone in professional sports says, if it's a player, if it's a manager, if it's a coach, if it's an owner, if it's a front office executive, I would take it with a truckload of salt, because they all have their own agendas. They all have something they're trying to push, and they will have no problem whatsoever turning around tomorrow and saying the complete opposite. We've watched it play out in sports, the NFL. We've watched it play out in the Premier League. It's something that happens time and time again. So I think you want to look at different things that are said, and then you got to try and ascertain for yourself, what may have happened.
Yeah, and I think it kind of take us into our next segment. But before we get into that, go out of order here a little bit. I want to give you guys a heads up. For those of you under the age of, let's say, 40 or 50, you might not remember that the Cleveland Browns packed up and moved to Baltimore. Shocking some, to the dismay of some fans. And was it Art Modell? Was that the owner at the time? Does that sound right to you, Colin?
Way back when.
Yeah, Art Modell. So we have a special guest coming on next week who is going to give us a little history. We're gonna go down that spin zone time machine that we warned you, told you about. Very excited. And so what we'll do is we'll give you the basic story of what happened when the Cleveland Browns left the Cleveland without a team and went to Baltimore, and why it happened and how it was portrayed and spun in the media. It'll be very interesting because we know exactly what happened and we know how we got back to I don't know, to Cleveland being back. And so we know the whole story. And speaking of stories and stories, how they're broken, we need to talk about Twitter phenom Ricky Scoops. Is that it? Ricky Scoops?
Yeah, Ricky Scoops.
Ricky the dog, the red-hatted dog who somehow beats Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, and all these guys with scoops. Now, we don't know who he is. But it's interesting to talk about. He has access to things. Is he being fed these things? Is he in the offices getting himself? Is it someone who works in there and then uses this Twitter handle as like his way to leak things? Is it an agent? We don't know. Column, it's a fascinating case, but he's successful in a lot of ways.
Wildly successful and has been around for a couple of years. Had maybe last year kind of people doubted him because sometimes with the best will in the world, teams pull out of deals or don't end up pulling the trigger. They've explored it. The cost they feel is too much. Maybe the players looking for too much, or they want too much in guaranteed money. But he, Ricky the dog, was on a heater this summer. Let's talk about, and we're going to get in. The big one is obviously the story that we just talked about. Micah Parsons, he was all over. We're going to talk about that. But just to give you a sense of, what Ricky got right. And we'll delve into some of the tweets because people were skeptical when this happened. But Ricky, he was correct and he was ahead of the posse. He was out there in front, ahead of the NFL insiders. And a true insider, shouldn't report when a story has happened. Surely what an insider should be do is telling you in advance of it happening. But he was correct on Amari Cooper's return to the Raiders. He had Brian Robinson's 49ers trade. He had the Chiefs extension for George Karlaftis. He had the Trey Smith. He had Sauce Gardner. He had Jalen Ramsey. He had Aaron Rodgers. He had Fred Warner. And Mike is flashing up on the screen some of the tweets that he had put out there. And those, I think, some of those are the particularly impressive ones you would have to say, because Ricky was on the Parsons story all the way back in March. Ricky put out a tweet. This was the one. This was 2 weeks before the trade actually happened. For those of you listening, but he was on the Parsons stuff in March, and he had the Amari Cooper piece in April. He was way ahead of the posse on all of these pieces, and I love this meme. For those of you listening, it's the meme of Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen where he put the 2 pieces of bread around this poor unfortunate lady's head, and he asked her, what are you? And in I think it's Kitchen Nightmares, she says an idiot sandwich. Well, Ricky Scoops is not an NFL insider. He is the NFL insider. He was all over these pieces.
Look at this one from Micah Parsons from March.
So far ahead of everybody. Nobody else was on this at the time.
This one's
The
great. In
the
June.
Yep, Alexander and Ramsey. And again, what's so interesting about this is you obviously have different tiers of insiders, which in itself is fascinating. Like teams have insiders who have different sources, different connections. Then you have the national insiders, the guys like Rappaport and Schefter. And where they get their stories from is something we might well delve into in a future episode. But rarely are they getting or at least putting the info out there with such urgency, such regularity, and being willing to break these stories. It is quite something. I mean, he had the Zach Allen piece before anyone else had the Zach Allen, and he had the money that we're talking about. Like he had the Micah Parsons contract like 2 weeks beforehand. He knew what it was going to be, and what some of this I would hope tells our viewers and our listeners, Mike, is how much stuff happens in the background. Like these deals get announced, and sometimes I think fans are left to think that this all happened really, really quickly. These are very often negotiated, weeks, month, potentially a full year in advance. Sometimes teams will have something set up so that if something falls their way, it'll happen next summer. It's not something that happens overnight in the vast majority of cases.
Yeah. He had Thielen as well. And his last tweet is after Micah Parsons. He's riding off into the sunset and retiring the Red Hat account on the highest of highs and going out on top. Who knows? Maybe he'll be back in March 2026. He goes on to say, "It's a lot of fun. We have football in a week." So it looks like Rickey is hanging up his hat for a while. We kind of had this conversation yesterday. Colin and I were talking about this, like who's trying to figure out maybe who he is, maybe not like his name, but like is he an agent? Is he a friend of someone in a front office? Who is Rickey? We were kind of having that. And then, when he tweeted this, I was a little sad that he was leaving. And Colin made this little tribute video.
Not like mine, of course, which are banger after banger after banger after certified banger. I don't miss.
You're right, Rickey, you don't miss, but we will miss you. We wish you were back, and we hope you come back. So
if Rickey Scoops, if you make it to Dublin, I'll have a pint waiting for you because you deserve that and more.
So, Colin, just so you know, and I think you saw this, I have officially made it. I tweeted that little video on my Twitter account at Mike Carmelini yesterday, and Rickey liked it and followed me. So now I have direct access. So I'll be reaching out. Maybe we can get him on the show, and we can black out his face or
That'd
put
be
a mask on,
amazing.
or have him come out.
Dark silhouette, the voice changer.
Mm-hmm. What if Rickey came out and it was Jerry Jones?
That we all got played because Jerry's betting on all of this, and he's winning big. Yeah, who knows?
Who knows? Oh gosh,
the legend of Rickey Scoops.
Well, I think we've. I think I need to get this back up just as a reminder that it's probably not Jerry Jones. No. Just folks, I was kidding. Now, it would be interesting to find out who is. There's a couple accounts out there that have come really close and gotten really paranoid. I was following an account. In fact, most people in this area were following an account for a couple years, and he had a very strange handle on Twitter, and I think he just had the generic little outline of a face that Twitter gives you if you don't have a picture. But this guy had like scoops too, inside stuff. And one day he just poof disappeared. He DM'd me, and all it said was they're getting too close. And he was gone for a year. He came back earlier this year and kind of did a few things and then hopped back out again. So there are people out there that just like narrative pushing. To the local like radio, every local radio newscaster or whatever for NFL teams, there's always one or two of them that we like to say they work for the team. They don't work for the team. They work for whatever station they are, but they are fed everything the team wants them to put out with the agreement that you will put this out in a favorable light and we will give you access to these players and we will give you first dibs on some stories. And so there's always going to be some of that, which is fine. It's part of the business, but.
And sometimes, Mike, that information that the team gives is deliberate misinformation.
Oh, and the reporter will know it and do it anyway. I won't say under the threat of banishment, but let's just say things could get a little more difficult if they don't play along. I know it happens in Denver. I know who it happens with in Denver, but that's not what this show is about. And we're not going to get into that tonight. But Colin, I think we got everything we wanted to talk to about today. We need everybody to head over. We had just a ton of people watched our first episode. But you guys watched it on the Mic'd Up channel. Shame on you. Thank you for the views, but we don't need them. We need them over on the Spin Zone. And actually, I have just a tragic slide to show you. First of all, I need to get better at slides. So this is my show, Mic'd Up. I think most of you already know what that is. This is Dublin to Denver. That is Mr. Colin Crone and Stuart Roche, which is a fantastic podcast. Weekly podcast.
Weekly podcast. If you enjoy people talking about the Denver Broncos who cannot pronounce the H and TH words, you are gonna love Dublin to Denver.
They
Come
need to
on
go
over.
Tree. If they win their first tree games.
Not bad, not bad, sir. But yeah, it's focused on the Broncos and obviously the happenings on the field, but also features plenty of drinking stories, Irish poetry, some swearing. You'll get it all on the Dublin to Denver podcast.
Honestly, guys, Dublin to Denver is. I don't make time to listen to a lot of shows. I listen to that show every week. I love it. This is the Spin Zone YouTube channel. It's the saddest thing I've ever seen. There's our first episode right now. Our first episode is up there and it got 5 views in 6 days. I told you it's like over 130 views, that same video on my station, but you need to go to the NFL Spin Zone on YouTube. At the NFL Spin Zone. Get over there and subscribe, please. We'd love to have you. The show's not gonna it's not going away, so you might as well subscribe. It's just gonna get better. And don't forget, next week, special guest Zach Seegers from KOA Radio and Let's Talk Broncos. He did a dissertation on the Cleveland Browns move. So we're gonna get into that and we're gonna have a little fun with it and do a little quick history on the time machine. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I think until next week, that kind of covers it. We'll be watching the Spin Zone. Don't forget to reach out, Colin. We have email, right? We have DMs. You can get a hold of us.
You can get in touch with either myself or Mike on Twitter. I'm across social media at Colin from Cork. The show does have its own Twitter account. It does have its own Instagram, but you can get in touch with us if you have ideas. We would love to hear them for stories, the time machine segments things you think we should delve into. And of course, there will be people listening to this as an audio podcast. If you do listen on the audio podcast, thank you for doing that. It would be great if you could rate, review, subscribe. We're over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So if you're doing a road trip, you can listen to us. Do you know what the best thing you can do, though, for us? Tell a friend about Spin Zone, Power PR, and the NFL. And hopefully we can get a few more eyes on us. We know we don't want to be mainstream. I think it's probably better for our health and safety that we're not mainstream. But if you know people who like something that isn't the X's and O's on the field, but looks at, the stories behind the game, we might be the show for them.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you everybody for watching. Colm and Mike are here for you on the Spin Zone, and we're gonna be the watchdogs. We're gonna find them. We're gonna make fun of them. And I mean, what's more fun than making fun of somebody that says something stupid on Twitter? Until next week, though, I'm Mike. That's Colm. We'll see you next week.